Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about relationship and let's start with the definition.
Relationship, or in Russian отношения, this is communication with the people who loves you or you love them. For example, this family or relatives. On another level, it's your neighbors and your colleagues. And on the highest level, this is people who live in the same city or tourists who visit in your country.
And before we start to talk about the fundamentals, what might be the potential explicit differences between the relationships or the environment, like a surroundings, another skill that we discussed?
Environments, this goes far further. So environments also includes people you don't know personally, but maybe you look for them and you take them into account. For example, this is guardians, maybe this is cleaners, maybe some selling staff, or maybe waiters in cafes and restaurants. But relationships, this means that you sometimes speak, make call, make request, or maybe fulfill some kind of obligations.
That means that relationships actually require some sort of engagement and interaction as the part of the one of the building block. So what are the things that actually make the relationship efficient, dynamic, and actually make them to exist?
Relationship, this is the very first level. After relationships, we have friendship and maybe love. When we talk about love, this is about to take care. When we talk about friendship, this is to держать слово, to keep the word, and to give small presents in some ways. Relations, this is about smiling, and this is to know your place in the life of other people and to understand how they important for you.
And when it comes to maneuvering or actually being good or maybe being bad at something, so what are the steps that the one person needs to go through in order to become an ace of the relationships?
Yes, correct. This is a nice word, ace or even ace of base. When you speak with some guys or with some girls, you should learn their life and their way of thinking. If you will meet the person and you will forget the name for several times, it's okay, but better to learn it. But much important to remember everything they have said to you. And if you will think about them for full capacity of your brain, if you will give advices when they ask for, maybe you will give some support or some knowledge or some networking, these people will very grateful to you and they will smile. If they smile, you will smile. If you have two smiles, this is like a minus, plus minus will give you a plus.
And I do believe that technology also some sort of like affected our relationship because we mostly would not really spend a lot of the attention to some person because we used to like a switching different contexts. So it's actually there is no capacity to do this certain thing, or there is no desire in order to, look into someone's life or habits or the surroundings to understand like who they are in order to interact with them more efficiently. So when it comes to making a different mistakes on the path of actually building the ideal relationships, what are the things people should avoid or might be making?
First, never give the opinion when you was not asked for, because a lot of people, they not complaining, they just want to pronounce something. They do not need your support, your opinion, your advice, but they want you to listen. Second, people do not want to compare to something, to somebody, and when you trying to say that someone's has a car or maybe flat or maybe bedrooms in large quantities, they will think that you like принижаешь их.
Yeah, make them smaller or
Make them
diminishing.
smaller, yes. So do not make comparison and never show to people who are much worse or much better. And third level, when you talk to people, you try to be as good as possible, as silent as possible, and also very attentive to understand from the voice what is going in the head.
And when it comes to actually, let's say, putting some sort of like a hat or maybe facade or maybe a mask in order to become maybe slightly different person. So to which extent possibly it could be allowed to go in order to, like make someone to like you, and whether it will work or won't in the long term.
Usually, I say in these cases that this is a very hard way to use several masks or costumes or even cosplays. For example, you will have one for your children, one for your wife or for your husband, another for your neighbors, another for your colleagues, another for your знакомых,
Acquainted people.
acquainted people, and in some cases you will lose your mask. It happened very often when I forget to change the mask and I come at home and trying to talk with my wife as a colleague, or for example I'm speaking with my friends like with relatives, and this is very spoiled habit. Better to have as less, как можно меньше,
As less.
as less costumes and masks as possible.
And when it comes to different types of the relationships, what are they, and what are the specifics of the personal, business, or work type of the relationships?
Personal relations, that mean the total care which you are able to give. For example, if your children or your suppose ask for something to buy or to visit or to make altogether, you should accept it without any conditions. When you talk with, for example, neighbors, you could manage. Sometimes you will help with your time, with your force, or maybe with some money. When you talk with colleagues, you should also take into account hierarchy, because not to everyone you are willing to help, but sometimes you have no other choice.
And we actually can look into it from the timeline perspective, or maybe the stage perspective. So let's say when someone steps in or engage into the relationship, what kind of person, let's say, will need to be in order to be more like attractive from the different points of view, like physically, mentally, or be the one who people would love to talk to, or who they would love to, discuss some sort of stuff, so that we actually can start the initial stage successfully.
This is a very right moment to remember a pyramid of Maslow. First grade or first level or first stage, you should give safety. So you should show to everyone who close to you that you are reliable and you are resourceful. So you will solve all problems for some stage which are related to flat or house, to car, or maybe some other kind of transport, food, or maybe some entertainment. On other level, you should show that you respect people wishes. Maybe you like Chinese restaurants, but your wife or your spouse asks you to go to Italian, and you will accept it. Yes, okay, we could go. And maybe this is not interesting for you to go to concert or to hockey play, but you also will take this. Maybe some of your colleagues will ask you to help with project, and you know nothing about this, but you never will say in such a way. You will say, come on, but first help me to dive deep in the project, to have to create my opinion, and maybe I will think how I could offer you a help.
And we will move to the middle stage, which actually might be quite big, but we will, for the sake of the podcast, we just will make it short. So it's like when you in the center, and you need to do the audit, and we imagine like it could be some sort of like a garden where you have to, like, do all of the gardening for every single plant, and at certain point you will need to remove something, or at certain point you will need to water or add some pesticides. So what should be the approach to the audit of the relationships here?
You should divide all people in your surrounding, in your environment, for several categories. First, these people who would not survive without you because they rely on you, maybe your wife, your husband, your mother, your father, so very close relatives. And you will give them pesticide and удобрение, fertilizer without any conditions. So you do it because you love them by heart. Second level is useful people. This like in a grocery, in a green, you could eat it and you will also feel yourself well. For example, this is your driver, maybe your helper, and so on. And last level, people which are not useful for you, but you want to create a good mask and you want to be a good man, good person.
Probably it may be one of the saddest level, which is the actually sunset of the relationship. What should be the approaches here when at certain point of time we have to end the relationship, or we, whether it's our or not our will, whether it's business or personal one, and how exactly we should approach to it?
There is a saying that you could finish your relations like you boil the milk. You could boil the milk and you will have this is volcano which just goes out of the can and will make everything dirty, especially you, and everything will be hot and it would be painful. Or you could make it in another way. You will put this can on some place very far from you, and it will spoil but without you. You will feel no smell, you will see no плесень.
Probably need to have a look into this.
Okay,
Plaque. It's a plaque.
no plague, but you will find in several months or several years that this connections is now lost, and okay, you should throw it away in a garbage bin.
And when it comes to the modern age, like when everything is on technology and we even have some sort of like a remote relationships, what might be the future of it, given the development of the all of the possible aspects of the science and the humanity?
We have a lot of ways how to communicate. We have emails, we have messengers, we have social networks. And when you're trying to reach someone, first you could reread his page or reread the chat which was created before to know what's happened, what's changed. Maybe the person has a new job, maybe a new friends, maybe a new way of living, maybe another place. For example, as you previous you on the previous podcast, you have been to Singapore, but now you're in Dubai. And if I will not take into the account, I will make a mistake. And I will ask you something about Singapore, and you will think, come on, Oleg is not following by me. He is not attentive. Maybe I should reconsider our relations.
Right? Sometimes context and the empathy and the attentiveness actually does matter. My last question will be how knowing about relationships could help to make this world a better place.
You know, in the school, we have been learning a lot of different subjects like math, like physics, and so on, but no one teaches how to pay taxes and how to behave with other people, and we make too many errors. When we will copy the model of our father and mother behavior, maybe we'll make this not in a good way, because maybe they were too high or maybe too low. If they too low, we will пригибаться, нагибаться.
Go down, bold,
We,
bow.
we will go down. Maybe if they were bold, we will try to be as a superstar, but it would be not appropriate, and we will lose our connections. So relationship, this is a very personal touch to everyone, but it would be well deserved.
А мы рассмотрели навык отношения и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира.